Hello friends, my name is Anne-Marie and today is a great day to learn something new.
So let's do that together. My name is Gabe and you are watching
Studio Classroom. We are so glad you've joined us for day 2 of our article as we answer the question, who moved my cheese?
Of course, it's not really about cheese. It's about what cheese represents, right? What is very important to you? What is it that you really want in life? Does it have to do with a job or relationship or success? Sometimes we can get pretty upset when those things just suddenly leave us and are found in a completely different place.
So this story or parable is about 4 characters, 2 mice and 2 people. They live in a maze and one day their source of cheese has disappeared. Now our article today is going to talk more about how they responded to this. So let's get into our first reading for the day.
Who moved my cheese? Haw begins writing messages on the maze's walls to capture what he's learning. One of his first notes says, "If you do not change, you can become extinct." That idea is central to the book. Johnson believes that change is not just possible, it's necessary. Life will keep moving, whether we like it or not, and those who stay flexible are more likely to thrive.
Okay, friends, I'm ready to find out what happens to Hem and Haw here in the next section of our article. We read here, Haw begins writing messages on the maze's walls to capture what he's learning.
Let's take a look at that word capture as it's used here. Often it means to catch or take control of something, like maybe a hunter is trying to catch a fox. Here it's not used in that way. Here it's talking about maybe an idea that someone is trying to write down in words so that he doesn't forget it, right? We could also use the word capture in this way. The photographer captured a beautiful sunset.
All right, so Haw is capturing what he's learning in this maze. One of his first notes says, "If you do not change, you can become extinct." Now, extinct means to be no longer existing. We often talk about dinosaurs being extinct. They do not exist anymore.
Okay, so what does Haw mean when he says that if you don't change, you can become extinct? It doesn't mean that you might not exist anymore. I mean, we all die one day, but that's not what he's talking about. It might mean that someone might no longer be necessary or useful, at least in the same way that they were. This idea, when I heard this idea in the audiobook, the first thing I thought of was AI and the idea of AI. People say AI is going to replace humans. But the fact of the matter is AI won't replace humans. However, if we don't learn how to ride the wave of artificial intelligence and learn how to work with AI, then maybe our jobs will be replaced by people who do know how to work with AI.
That's a really good point. We read on here, that idea is central to the book. This idea that if you don't change, you can become extinct. Now, if something is central, it means that it is very important to something.
Yeah, for example, trust is central to any good relationship. It is so necessary and essential. So it is central to that. Well, the idea is central to the book. The idea of if you don't change, then you might become extinct. Johnson believes that change is not just possible, it's necessary. We would say even it's inevitable. Things are going to change no matter what.
And that's what we see here in this next sentence. Life will keep moving whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not means that even if we don't want something to be true, it's still going to happen.
That's right. Whether you like it or not, you need to follow the rules of the game. That way everybody can enjoy the game. Think of another way to use that phrase, whether you like it or not. So whether we like it or not, life will keep moving. So those who stay flexible are more likely to thrive. Let's take a look at that word flexible. This is able to change or adjust easily.
That's right. You need to be flexible when plans change suddenly. Now, we can also be flexible with not just small things, but with bigger things that happen in our lives. When situations change and we need to make decisions, it's a good idea to be flexible, to be able to change or adjust so that you don't get so stressed or stuck where you are in life.
Well, we do need to be flexible if we want to thrive in life. I know you just learned about that word from Jack, but I like to think of that word thrive in contrast with the word survive. If you're just surviving, it means you're going from day to day, but it's not really the best quality of life. If you're thriving, that means you do have a higher quality of life and you are enjoying it. Well, we do have more to learn, so let's do that in our next reading together.
Who moved my cheese? Another message Ha writes is, what would I do if I weren't afraid? This question helps him take action. Even though he's still reluctant, he starts looking for new cheese. It isn't until he begins taking action that he starts to feel more confident. His mindset changes. Ha realizes that the fear he had wasn't helpful. It was holding him back. When he finally finds a new source of cheese, he's not just relieved, he's wiser.
Friends, remember, Hem and Haw are still stuck in this maze with no cheese, or rather, they are trying to find a new source of cheese. And as Haw is going now, he is writing messages on the maze's walls.
That's right. Another message he asks or writes is, what would I do if I weren't afraid? Again, he's trying to capture these ideas in writing so that he doesn't forget them. That's one purpose for writing something down. Another purpose that's not mentioned in our lesson here, but when I was listening to the audiobook, is he's actually hoping that Hem will actually leave that room and notice these messages that Haw is writing and begin to think about things himself.
Ah, I see. So these messages are written for Hem's benefit.
As well.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, so this question helps Haw take action. This question of what would I do if I weren't afraid? Now, to take action means to do something to solve a problem or make a change.
That's right. It's time to take action to protect the environment. And maybe you're stuck in a job, maybe you're stuck in your comfort zone and you need to take action. Otherwise, things are always just going to be the same.
Okay, so we read here, even though he's still reluctant, he starts looking for new cheese. This word reluctant is one you should know, friends. This means that someone doesn't want to do something.
That's right, or maybe they're very slow to make a decision because they don't want to do it, right? He was reluctant to join the party because he's kind of shy. That's an example for you. Are you ever reluctant to do something that maybe other people want you to do? Well, even though he's still reluctant, Hall starts looking for new cheese. It isn't until he begins taking action that he starts to feel more confident. Sometimes we say fake it till you make it. This often has to do with confidence. If you want to feel confident and actually develop confidence in something, you need to actually start doing the thing you need to do.
Okay, so you see here, as he begins to take these steps, he starts to feel more confident, and that is what makes his mindset change. Now, we've talked a few times about mindset the past few months, friends, but let's define it again together. A mindset is the way that a person thinks about things. For example, having a positive mindset can help you succeed.
That's right. We talked about having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset earlier this year. It's more important to have a growth mindset, of course. And I think that idea fits well with this story, Who Moved My Cheese, as well. So Hall realizes that the fear he had wasn't helpful. Well, fear rarely is helpful. I guess it can be helpful in the sense that there are certain things that we need to be careful about, but we shouldn't live in fear.
And it turns out that this fear was holding him back. Now, to be held back means to stop someone from moving forward or succeeding. And people could hold you back, or situations could hold you back, or things could even hold you back.
or mindsets, right? For example, maybe you have the fear of failure. That is something that holds a lot of people back. His fear of failure was holding him back. So when he finally finds a new source of cheese, he's not just relieved, he's wiser. And of course you can imagine he would be relieved that he has a new source of cheese, because after all, he was starting to get hungry and starve. Now he's feeling relieved. If you feel relieved, that means you feel better after stress or worry is gone.
Here's an example of how you could use relieved in a sentence. I was relieved when I passed the exam.
Well, Ha is not only relieved here, he is also wiser. We do have a little bit more to learn from our lesson right after today's Info Cloud.
Who moved my cheese? Who moved my cheese is short, but its lessons are lasting. Don't let fear trap you. Stay alert. Notice changes. Adapt quickly. Johnson reminds us that while we can't always control what happens, we can control how we respond. And often, that makes all the difference.
Okay, friends, it's time to see how our lesson is going to wrap up. We read, Who moved my cheese is short, but its lessons are lasting. Now, you said that you did listen to the audio version of this book, right?
That's right.
And it didn't take you very long, did it?
Not at all. I was actually kind of surprised because I had it on double speed, but even if you listen to it at the normal speed, it's only a little bit more than an hour, a little over an hour.
So this really is a very short book to read.
And as I was listening to it, one of the thoughts I had was, how come we haven't mentioned this book on Studio Classroom before? Because we've talked about a lot of different famous books in literature over the years, but a lot of them have really high-level English. And Who Moved My Cheese is about the same level as all of our lessons here at Studio Classroom. It's super easy to follow along.
All right, so friends, this might be a good one for you to pick up and read or listen to yourself. And as we see here, the lessons are lasting. If something is lasting, it means that it continues for a long time.
That's right. We could also talk about maybe an impression that someone has for a long time after an event. The trip left a lasting impression on Sandy. Well, we continue here. Who moved my cheese? It's short, but its lessons are lasting. Don't let fear trap you. Let's take a look at the word trap as it's used in our lesson here. This is to catch or keep someone or something in one place.
Here's an example. The spider trapped a fly in its web. So don't let fear trap you. Here's another lesson. Stay alert. Notice changes. And here's another good one. Adapt quickly. We talked earlier about the idea of being flexible, and this word adapt is another good one for you to know as well. To adapt means to change to fit new conditions.
That's right. Many animals will adapt to their environment in order to survive. And of course, we as humans also need to learn how to adapt to different environments. So stay alert. Notice changes, adapt quickly. Johnson reminds us that while we can't always control what happens, we can control how we respond. Let's take a look at this word to control. This is to manage or maybe even direct something.
Here's an example. He tried to control his anger during the meeting. So you could control your feelings, you could control a situation as well. And that's what we see here. We can't really control what happens in our lives, but we do have a choice to control the way that we respond. And often, that makes all the difference.
Well, let's take a look at that final phrase here. If it makes all the difference, that means it has a big effect or impact.
All right, for example, a good night's sleep makes all the difference before a test. Even if you know all the answers to that test, if you haven't slept well, you probably won't do as well on that test. So a good night's sleep can make all the difference.
Sometimes we just talk about making a difference, right? Oh, that really made a difference. But if we say it makes all the difference, we're probably saying it's maybe the most important factor that can make a difference.
Well, I thought this story was pretty interesting, and I will probably go back and read or listen to the whole thing myself. And we do have more to talk about some of the morals that we learned from this book, but is there anything that you'd like to share that you feel was really, really good for our students to know?
I'm glad you brought that up, Anne-Marie, the other morals, because as you read, Hall wrote down several things on these walls, right? As he was going along, different ideas occurred to him, and he thought, I really need to remember this. I wrote some down myself.
Okay, let's hear them.
I captured them in my phone. So when you move beyond your fear, you feel free. All right, everybody wants to feel free, right? We need to get out of our fear zones. What do we need to let go of, and what do we need to move on to? It's not just about letting go of something, but it's also the idea of what are you moving on to. There's also the idea in the book that you can move your own cheese. Sometimes we need to get out of our comfort zone, and nobody else is going to do that for us. We need to do that ourselves.
I really like that one. Move your own cheese. Friends, we have more to talk about in just a moment, but first let's go to today's fun fact. Friends, it's the end of our lesson, which means it's time for our talk about it question. Do you agree with the idea that change is necessary for success? Why or why not?
I hadn't really thought about it in those terms before, or in that way. I've thought about the idea that mistakes are necessary for success, and perhaps even failure and failing a few times so that you can learn what to do and what not to do. But I'll have to think about that. Anne-Marie, what do you think? Is change necessary for success?
Sometimes. Sometimes to be successful, you have to make a change. But sometimes to be successful, you have to persevere.
You have to persevere. And this is especially true when you already believe and firmly believe in your vision, right?
Definitely. I think it has to do with what your goals are and what you are trying to accomplish to determine if a change is necessary or if persevering is necessary.
Well, friends, what do you think? Is change necessary for success?
Friends, that's all the time we have for today. My name is Anne-Marie.
And my name is Gabe. We will see you next time right here on
Studio Classroom.